If that was the case, then the other party wasn't angry without reason. Julien had always been adept at apologizing, so he immediately said, "I've heard about the accident with the bell, and I'm dreadfully sorry. I do apologize." The other party humphed, the meaning unclear. There was a great number of renowned martial gods in the heavenly realm, and many of them were newly ascended dignitaries who came after Julien's time. Julien couldn't be sure who this person was by voice alone, but he couldn't stay ignorant of his name after apologizing either. So Julien inquired, "Might I ask how I may address my lord?" The others fell silent at this. Not only did the others fall silent, it was like the entire communication array froze and the air was assaulted with stagnation. From the other end, Ling Wen sent him another message. "Your Highness, although I think you should have recognized him after talking for so long, I still want to give you a hint. That's Zhuan Zhen." "Zhuan Zhen?" He was stumped for a moment before he finally came around and then sent a voice message back in shock. "That's Mu Qing." General Zhuan Zhen was the martial god of the southwest, who possessed 7,000 temples. His name in the human world was considerably distinguished, and this General Zhuan Zhen's real name was Mu Qing. 800 years ago, he was a deputy general at the Jianle Palace of the Crown Prince. Ling Wen was also quite shocked. "You really didn't recognize him?" "I really didn't," Julien replied. "He didn't talk to me like this back then. Besides, I can't even recall when we last met. It was either 5 or 6 centuries ago. I can barely remember what he looks like, so how can I possibly remember what his voice sounds like?" The communication array was still deep in silence. Mu Qing didn't utter a sound. The other heavenly officials were pretending they weren't listening while waiting on the edge of their seats for whichever one would continue the conversation. Things were rather awkward when it came to those two. The complicated plot had been spread in rumors for so many years, and everyone basically knew the story at this point. Back then, when Julien was still the esteemed crown prince of Jianle, he trained at the Royal Holy Temple. This Royal Holy Temple was a royal cultivation hall in the kingdom of Jianle, with a very strict standard for selecting disciples. Mu Qing came from the slums, and his father was an executed criminal. Someone like that didn't qualify for acceptance to the Royal Holy Temple, so he could only run errands. Within the temple grounds, he was someone who cleaned the Royal Highness's room and served tea and water. Julien saw how hard he was working, so he requested that the state preceptors make an exception and accept Mu Qing as a disciple. It was only by the golden mouth of the Royal Highness that Mu Qing could enter the temple to cultivate and be trained alongside the crown prince. Then, after ascension, Julien appointed him his general and took him along to the heavenly capital. However, when the kingdom of Jianle fell and Julien was banished to the mortal world, Mu Qing didn't follow him. Not only did he not follow, he never even spoke a word in Julien's favor. Either way, the crown prince was gone, so he was free. He found a cave on a piece of auspicious land and trained arduously, and not a few years later he passed a heavenly tribulation and ascended to heaven himself. In the past, one was in the heavens and one on earth. Now there was still one in the heavens and one on earth. It was simply that their positions had switched completely, that's all. On this end, Ling Wen said, "He's very upset." "I figured as much," Julien said. "I'll go start another topic of conversation. You'd best take the chance to leave," Ling Wen suggested. "Nah, it's okay," Julien replied. "It's fine as long as we pretend nothing's happened." "Are you sure?" Ling Wen said. "I feel awkward just watching you two." "It's not that bad," Julien replied. For someone like Julien, everything besides death really was okay. He didn't have a lot, and certainly not shame. He had done much more awkward things, so he genuinely felt that this was okay. Yet who knew that okay wasn't a word to be uttered lightly? He had only just said, "It's okay," when a voice roared angrily, "Who the fuck knocked down my golden palace? Show yourself!" This angry roar was going to make the heads of all the gods explode. While they were already filled to the brim with surging complaints, still, each of them held their breaths, waiting soundlessly to hear how Julien was going to answer this accusatory cry. Yet, unexpectedly, things only got more exciting. Before Julien had opened his mouth, Mu Qing spoke up first. Or rather, he only snorted. The newcomer spat coldly. "You knocked it down? Good, just you wait." Mu Qing replied coolly. "I didn't say it was me. Don't make false accusations." The other said angrily, "Then what are you laughing about? Are you out of your mind?" "No reason. You just sound funny, that's all, Mooching said. The one who knocked down your golden palace is in the communication array right now. Go interrogate him yourself. With things reaching this point, Yelian was too embarrassed to run away just like that. He cleared his throat. It was me. I'm sorry. The moment he spoke, the one who came after also fell silent.